quality that all successful people have to have. You have to believe that something different than what has happened for the last 50 million years of history. You have to believe that something different can happen.
Yeah, it's almost a kind of innocence.
Absolutely.
In other words, if you knew how difficult it was,
right,
you would have never gone down that path.
Absolutely.
You know, if somebody had said to Ali, no one can beat this guy, he's this much stronger, he's this much bigger, he's got that much bigger punch than you do, and he believed that, he would have said,
never
you got to have an
take the
innocence
first
that
step.
somehow.
Absolutely.
You know,
I think that's a huge part of me, because, and I say to my friends all the time, and we laugh about it, I truly, honestly, as I sit here before you right now, as honestly as I can say it to you, I truly believe that I could be the president if I wanted to. And as bizarre as that may sound to people that have traveled the path before me and to people who actually know how difficult it is, foolish Will Smith honestly believes it's sitting here.
Well, what there is about that is a sense of the innocence about it, as well as a disarming honesty about it, if you say it that way. Now, here's what's interesting about you, is that there are people who have said that about you, too, who've been around you as a creative performer.
Absolutely.
Barry Sonnenfeld, I think it was, you know, did you work with him, or he
Yes.
was involved in this somehow, said something like that, that if Will Smith decided he wanted to go into politics, I'd be there to help him by making commercials, whatever I could do within my own talent. Which raises the interesting question, is that something that at some point in your life you might think about, politics?
Well, you know, I absolutely feel that there are certain gifts and certain talents that God has blessed me with that it would be spiritually criminal to only use to make money. My travels in Africa and spending time with Muhammad Ali and spending time with Nelson Mandela, there are certainly issues that are important to me, and things that I've been blessed with the vehicle to be able to change, to be able to, as sappy as it may sound, make the world a better place, however minute the change. And that's something that is important to me, but I don't believe that politics is the best use
of your energy and time right
absolutely.
now. But the interesting thing, too, is that there is this concept, and you see it with lots of different people, you know, even with people who are evil. Some will say, he had so much talent. If that talent could have been redirected to something good. It is the idea, if you are given and you work hard, because there's nothing more apparent about Will Smith than how diligent and hard he works at being who you are. I mean, you appreciate the notion, it looks like to me from what I know about you, of understanding that you have to be prepared in order to maximize the possibilities of gifts, right?
Absolutely. And I believe, and I learned very young.
From parents?
From my parents, absolutely. That you don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. There will not be one brick on the face of the earth that's going to be laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay in this next 10 minutes. And you do that every single day.
And soon you have a wall.
And soon you have a wall. And I think psychologically, the advantage that gives me over a lot of people that I have been in competition with in different situations is it's difficult to take the first step when you look how big the task is. The task is never huge to me. It's always one brick.
Me too. I mean, it is amazing how people are paralyzed from doing anything because they can't take the first step. Whereas you just say, look, all I'm doing is laying this one brick. I am not building the Great Wall of China here.
Absolutely.
I'm putting a brick here, and I'm going to have the best brick I can. Your father, I think I read, had you and your brother work on a wall of some kind?
Yeah. We're talking about our figurative wall. That comes from work on a literal wall.
Yeah, right.
My father owned. It actually was an old bakery when I was growing up. My father was an electrician and a refrigeration man. We would install supermarkets. You see the long freezer cases in supermarkets. We would install those long freezer cases, and all the lights. That's what we would do every summer.
Yeah.
So this one year, my father had his shop, and he decided for whatever reason that he wanted a new wall on the front of his shop. So he tore down probably about 16 feet high and probably about 30 feet long. He just completely tore the wall down, and my brother and I had to dig a 6-foot hole. We
for
were
the
mixing
foundation.
for the
Yeah,
foundation, and we were mixing the concrete by hand.
Yeah.
A year and a half. We were building this wall for a year and a half. Every day after school, we were coming, mixing concrete, putting it in the hole, doing it, and it was just myself and my little brother. And I remember standing back, looking at that wall, saying, "There's going to be a hole here forever. There will never be anything but a hole here."
That's right.
And a year and a half
I don't
later,
have that many days.
I know. A year and a half later, we laid the final brick, and my father stood back with my brother and I know he planned this. He says he didn't, but I know he had been planning this and writing this for his for the past 2 years. But we stood back, we looked at the wall, and he looked at me and my brother and said, "Now don't y'all never tell me that you can't do something," and walked into the shop.
That's great.
I was like,
now here's what's interesting. You said what? You said
I said, "That man's crazy. Something wrong with him, Harry. We need to get out of here."
Exactly. What is he doing to my head?
Man, did he start drinking? Is he drinking?
But what's great about that story and what's great about your dad is that you seem to have come from a happy family.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, fairly.
Reasonably.
Reasonably. Yeah.
He's a little crazy. This thing about walls.
Yeah, he's a little,
Yeah.
it was,
but generally, there was no great,
yeah.
you didn't have the kind of conflict that Ali had.
Oh, definitely not like Ali
that kind
had.
of, and yet you have the amazing amount of drive. I mean, there's a sense of mission with you, sense of commitment, sense of prepared to do what it requires, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
so you didn't come from a struggling artist background to become
well, you know what? I
an
think
accomplished professional.
I think both of my parents and my grandparents were achievers. You know, my mother worked for the school board of Philadelphia, so growing up we couldn't say y'all. You know, it's like we run out.
My kids do not say y'all.
Yeah, right. You know, we would run out of the house and scream to our friends, "Yo, what y'all about to do?" My mother's up. That's it. Back in this house. Back in this house, and we'd be sitting upstairs crying, and my grandmother would come in and say, "Baby, you know a y'all is a boat."
Yeah.
Like, oh, but
there's
you know,
a difference.
There's absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, there were very specific rules, and there was a constant desire to be better.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because
we were becoming
something greater.
Yeah.
And I always remember that my mother or father or grandmother would say, "That's great, baby. You did a really good job with that. That's incredible. Congratulations. Try this next time."
Yeah.
You know, there was always a little bit
Stretching.
more. Absolutely.
When you started out as a rapper, were you already thinking, if I get to do this really well, I'll have a television show. And if I have a television show, I can be in feature films. And if I'm in feature films, I can be.
For me, it was always, my biggest dream coming up was I wanted to hear one of my records on the radio.
That was it?
That was it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to hear one of my records on the radio. And I wanted to see someone hear my record on the radio. And in June 1986, I saw a guy ride past my father's shop, you know, dropping his head, you know. So from that point, I've really been beyond my dreams. And even with the first Grammy nomination, we were beyond anything. When we recorded, we didn't say, "Wow, it would be cool to be."
We just want to hear it on the radio.